I just think like it's like a question a lot, like to a large degree, to make it better is a question of like having a smarter training model framework, so that you actually don't let it just do like because that's the thing. So far, the best approach is like basically just two, if I understand it correctly, but I intend to understand it better. One of them is that humans tell it what's good. It's like a good boy approach.
Yeah.
So it's basically like training a dog. But then it's 100% dependent on humans, and humans, of course, are fallible and maybe don't necessarily really know what they want. So it's like if you want to have like a good conversation thing, like you can have the people train it in a sense of like telling when like, oh, this is sort of convincing me that it's a real chatting person, and this is not convincing me. I think that's mainly how these things were trained in the first step. But then that's of course very limited, because that doesn't teach it a lot of important qualitative nuances about what it's supposed to be doing in a conversation. It's sort of like it doesn't teach it to be a writer, like because like at no point were there writers judging if it's actually writing a good story.
Right.
It actually was just like, does it sort of sound like a person? So what you train it for in this sense is like what humans, like you can get like better humans. So one of those approaches is you can get better judges of like determining what it's supposed to be doing. So you can sort of focus on having like elite people training it. And that's then similar to like having good teachers. Then on the other end of it, you can try to have, and that's many people are doing that right now, better samples, because like just letting it loose on the whole internet is maybe not the best thing that you could do, because there's a lot of extra noise that you don't want, like racism, like it's like sort of ambient racism or less emotional drama, teenage drama bullshit. Like what you want maybe is to have a tight control over the sample, like because there's still the principle garbage in, garbage out. So for instance, when I will be creating the artificial intelligence for astrological purposes, it will be very important what you feed it, because there's a lot of bullshit masquerading as astrology. So you don't want to feed it the bullshit astrology. You want to feed it like good astrology if you want it to be good at good astrology. So that's sort of how the dumb basic good boy training model works and can be maximized. So that can be done better than it's done now by big companies, which they're aware of. I think there was a leaked memo recently when they basically said that the people doing what I just described will just make better specific purpose AIs that will be open source very soon and will just overtake them. That they basically know that they're doomed, because that's something that small agile teams are better at than a big model or a big company. Okay. So that's one thing. Other thing is AI letting it somehow fight itself and train. The issue there is you need to have the rules of the game down, because like if it's you can train this way 100% any like game playing AI, because you just let it, you say the rules of the game are this, now compete, and it will compete against itself trillion times to maximize the winning conditions.
Okay, so you can combine the two, and I think that's what you need to do, and probably what they're doing is that you train it as far as it can go, and then you go head to head with humans, right? And then the humans, and again, expert level humans that would be an expert in kind of following the rules of whether this is a gain or not a gain, whether this conversation is enlightening or good or gainful versus not. And you might have 100 or 1,000 philosophers / professors / just well-trained people on whatever topic you're talking about, and it's up to that person to decide if this was a net gain conversation or if it was a waste of my time. And you do that, you iterate through that process using those very specific rules several times, and each time it trains itself a trillion times.
You could definitely make a more constructive conversationalist, the same way you could make a better writer chatbot by having people judging, not just that it fools them, that it's human, but caring more about whether what they're telling is a good story, or by judging if the conversation was fruitful. Right. So like you can have that. It's just that still like has a ceiling. Like these approaches like have a specific ceiling that you can't sort of burst through. The issues that like maybe what you want to do instead is like, I'm still keep getting back to astrology. Maybe you should try to select the people who train it based on their astrological configuration, so that you train a particular kind of sort of natural holistic intelligence on personality. Like specifically, if you wanted to train to have a personality of a particular kind, then you would have to select very carefully the people basis some sort of personality test, who are supposed to give you feedback of like if it's a personality they personally approve of.
This could actually turn into a good set of short stories, just like How to Train Your Dragon. It's like how to train your how to train your AI. And each kind of iterative process of training an AI leads towards a whole different AGI style or a different form of AGI.